Hello guys, today's class is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be in front of the cameras, like some of it, but some of it you're just going to be looking at the screen behind me. Alright, I'm going to start out by talking to you about the sights. We're going to talk about sight adjustments, how to adjust the sights on these things, and some on how to score the targets we're going to be using in class. Alright, so what does the sight do? Alright, the sight gives you a reference point for putting bullets on a target. That's the point in having sights on a gun. Alright, we are going to be using a rifle. I'll ask people occasionally, why is a rifle more accurate than a handgun? And the common answer is, well, it's got a longer barrel. That's not exactly true, but it has a bearing on the true aspect of it. What is the truth? Alright, when we looked at the rifle diagram in an earlier class, I told you guys that the distance between the sights is called sight radius. The distance between the sights is called sight radius. Also want you to know the distance from the rear sight to your eye is called eye relief. Eye relief. Okay, so the distance from your eye to the rear sight, eye relief. Distance between the sights, sight radius. Okay, that sight radius is really why this gun is more accurate than the handgun. All right, so if you have a handgun here, handgun sight radius, you can see the sight radius on the handgun from the rear sight to the front sight is much shorter than the sight radius on the rifle. Okay, rear sight to front sight. Okay, so the sight radius is shorter. Why does that matter? All right, we have an angle. I've drawn an angle out for you guys here. If we have the sight radius of a handgun, when we're measuring that angle, we have a very coarse measure of the angle. Whenever we have a rifle's sight radius, we can measure that angle with a greater deal of precision. Okay, that's why it matters. A longer rifle has a longer sight radius. Sight radius gives you a more fine measure of how bad you're screwing up, and so you can screw up less, and therefore you have a more accurate firearm. So that's why the barrel matters, because you put the front sight out at the end of the barrel, but it's really the sight radius that's helpful. Okay, so a little bit of a review from the last class. We're going to go over today sight alignment, we're going to go over sight picture, we're going to go over follow through, and we're going to add an element to follow through. All right, so I'm going to step off screen now and use just the projector behind me to demonstrate some stuff. So we're talking about sight alignment, okay? Sight alignment, if you'll remember, that is lining up your front and rear sights. That, I know this is kind of a crappy handout, but this is what we got. Sight alignment, so your rear sight is here, front sight is here. Actually, this is the hood for the front sight. This inner circle is actually the front sight. So rear sight, front sight, this is actually the front sight. So this is sight alignment. Lining up your front and rear sights. How that's going to look for real, you saw on the handout here, you have a rear sight here, front sight there. These are actually sights from the gun. Okay, this is a rear sight, and this is a front sight. Alright, so from the shooter's perspective, when you look through this rear sight, you're actually just looking through this little disc. There's a disc with a tiny pinhole in it. And when you get up close to the sight, you're going to look through that pinhole. Then out on the other end of the rifle, you'll find your front sight. Like that. Okay? So that is sight alignment. That's kind of what you're going to see. Now, when you see these diagrams, it just looks like a two-dimensional object. You forget that there's motion. Okay, this is another training tool here showing you that front sight tends to want to move around. Okay, we want to try to keep it as still as possible, but none of us are machines. We're all going to have human error, so your front sight's going to be dancing around a little bit inside there. Luckily, our eyes and mind want to create concentric circles, so this is what we're going to wind up with a lot, but it is still going to be a little wonky sometimes. So that's sight alignment. Then sight picture looks like this. You add the target, that creates sight picture. Same. Okay? Now, just like your sights moved independently of each other. Your sights move independently of each other, and they also move independently of the target. So it's not just going to lock on and stay like this. This is another kind of crudish training tool I've got. This is what we want. We want to have our target perfectly centered in that front sight, but this is more like what we're going to have. Hopefully we have something like this. Okay, we may have something more like this. Remember I was telling you about that heartbeat thing before. If you don't have your proper equipment on, when you look through the sight, you'll see something like that. The sight's moving against your target. This is what we want. This is probably what we're going to get. Okay? That's sight alignment and sight picture. Remember when we talked about follow-through before, we talked about continuing the motion. All right, continuing the motion, when the shot fires, boom, hold, back on target, release the trigger. Okay, you have to continue your motion all the way through. You can't jerk when you pull the trigger. That's going to help you. All right, there's an element of follow through that we're going to get into right here that's going to help us with adjusting the sights. As a matter of fact, it's going to be an essential part of that. When you make the shot, okay, one, have your eyes open. Your eyes have got to be open. When you're looking through the sight, controlling your breathing, slow, steady squeeze on the trigger, boom, the gun's going to fire. When it fires, it's not going to move much, but it's going to move. When it moves, the last thing you saw clearly through that sight, that is it's called your call. That is the call you make on the shot. Where you saw the target in relationship to your sights, that is your call, okay? It's called calling your shots, all right? And you need to know what your call was. What do I mean by that? All right, using this crude example here, all right? When you were looking at the sights, you had this go on. Your sights were dancing around on the target, all right? And you got it pretty close, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna shoot now, bang! And that's what you saw. That's the last thing frozen in your mind when the gun fires. All right, so there should be a bullet hole right in the center of this target, or right in the center of the sights, actually. So it should be about right there. All right, there should be a bullet hole right there. That's what your sights are telling you. When we fired, the bullet should be right there. So when you look through your spotting scope, you should see a bullet right there. All right, that's how calling works. All right, what we want to do is when we fire the gun, we want to have it looking just like that. That way we can call the shot good. All right, we can say that was a good shot. We look through our spotting scope, hopefully it is good and everything is right with the work. Most likely initially that's not going to be the case. All right, so we're going to have to deal with that. How we're going to deal with that, we're going to get into as we go along here today. So we make our shots and we see what happens. So, all right, let's see how we're gonna deal with this. All right, so we're gonna look at the actual sights for a minute and figure out how we're gonna adjust these things. All right, this is the sight I was just demonstrating with you guys up there. This is a micrometer adjusting rear sight. You'll notice it has knobs on it. Some of the knobs are black. Some of the knobs are silver, and some of the knobs are marked in German. So unless you speak German, you know, kind of follow along. You will also have a cheat sheet that's going to help you out with this. But what you're going to do, you're going to take your sight. Now let me put something up here that's a little more contrasting for you. Let's see a little better. All right, so you got your sight here, black knobs, silver knobs, whatever they have. They've got numbers on them. Don't pay any attention to the numbers, they don't matter. What we've got here with these knobs, we have a top knob and we have a side knob. When you twist them, you'll feel them clicking. You'll feel these knobs clicking. The value of those clicks is this. 4 clicks on these knobs move you 1 scoring ring on the target. Okay, remember that. 4 clicks on these knobs, 1 scoring ring on the target. The direction. The top knob controls your up and down. The right knob controls your right and left. All right, the top knob, if we turn it clockwise, is going to go down. So if you think about a bottle or a jar, we had a jar lid, all right, and we were going to put the lid on the jar, we would screw it clockwise, and that would go down. That would put the lid on the jar. So if this was a jar lid and we're tightening it up, that's going to go down because we're tightening it up. We loosen it up, it's going to come up. So clockwise is down, counterclockwise is up. If we turned our jar on the side like this, clockwise is going to go left, counterclockwise is going to come right. Same thing. So clockwise is left, clockwise is down. Counterclockwise is right and up. So clockwise down, clockwise left. All right? 4 clicks per ring. All right? So what we need to do now is start trying to make some adjustments. Okay, so we know which knobs move which direction. We know how many clicks moves us where. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do some simulations here. All right, we are going to make some shots and see what happens. So we've got our target sheet here. Also, now at this point in class, I can show you some. You've had enough information at this point where I can show you something that would initially have been a little scary. It might still be a little scary to you, but hopefully not terribly frightening. All right, this is one of the cartridges you guys will be shooting in class. All right, I'm going to stand this one up right here in the middle of that target. Notice it's pretty much the same diameter as the bullseye. All right, it is the same diameter as the bullseye. As the target you're shooting at, the bullet you're shooting is the same diameter as the 10 ring that you're trying to hit. All right, and that may seem intimidating. Don't let it be. All right, by the time we finish this class, you guys are going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to hit that 10 ring at least 8 out of 10 times. Everybody here can hit that thing 8 out of 10 times. Most of you guys will be doing it well over 9 out of 10 times, because that's 90. Okay? Most of you guys, when you get to the test, will be shooting somewhere between a 92 and a 96. Okay, so I highly encourage you guys to not get stressed out right now thinking about how small the target you're going to be shooting. The guns we're shooting and what you're going to be doing, that's why I told you you're going to be super impressed with your abilities by the time you leave this class, because you'll be able to hit that thing. Everybody in here, without fail, will be able to hit that thing way more than you anticipated at this point. So don't freak out. Just do the stuff. You'll be impressed with what you can do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make some adjustments. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a shot, and then we're going to see what happens. So we look through our sights, we pull the trigger, our call was good. All right, we called the shot on. All right, but when we looked through the spotting scope, what we had was, we looked through the spotting scope and we saw that. All right, so we had a shot that was high. All right, so what are we going to do if we have a shot that's high? Well, remember we've got sight here. Our sight has a top knob and a side knob. Remember, our top knob controls our up and down, the side knob controls our right and left. So we're high, so we're going to need to deal with the up and down. Okay, so we need to figure out which knob we need to turn. We know we need to turn the top knob. We need to know which direction we're going to turn it. Remember, we said clockwise goes down. We need to go down, so we're going to need to turn this the top knob clockwise. Now we need to know how many clicks. Remember I told you it was 4 clicks per scoring ring. Okay? So it's 4 clicks from here to here. Alright? And so we're between the 2 lines here. So from there to the middle of the next line is 4 clicks. To the middle of the next line, 4 clicks. And then to the center of the target, is 4 clicks. So that's what you do. You go 4, 4, 4. And that will get you to the center of the target. You guys see that? Hopefully you see that pretty readily. Alright? So that's what we would do. We would take our sight, we would figure out which knob, we figure out which direction we're going to turn the knob, and then we apply the number of clicks that we figure it needs to be. Okay, so we're going to shoot another shot. The shot we call good again. We're looking at the spot scope, and this time when we look down range, we see this. Okay? So now we do the same thing. We figure which knob do we need. This time we need the side knob. It's going to go right and left. We need to go left. Clockwise on the side knob goes left, so we're going to need to turn the side knob clockwise. How many clicks are we going to go? Alright, we're going to start in the center of the bullet hole. We're trying to get to the center of the target. So in the center of the bullet hole, here, 4, here, 4. Now if we go a whole 4, we go all the way across the center. So we don't want to do that. We're only going to go 2. So we go 4, 4, 2 to get us to the center. Hopefully you guys see that. If you don't see that, email me. We'll talk about it and see how I can clarify that for you. But if you're on the line, you don't want to put that last 4 clicks all the way on because you go all the way across the center. So keep that in mind. Now, we're going to fire another shot. All right, this shot we're going to fire, we're going to call good. Then we look through the spot scope, and what do we see? We look down range, and we have this. We call it good, but that's what we see. Now, we don't have a diagonal knob on the sight. All we have is up and down. So what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to draw ourselves an imaginary XY axis. Something like that. That's kind of wavy. You're going to be doing it with your mind anyway. So what you're going to do is you pick which one you want to do first. It doesn't matter which one. We're going to do the what's called windage. That's your right and left. We're going to do that one first. So we look down here, that's this one, so we're about right there. So our windage is our side knob. And which direction are we going to turn it? We need to go right, so we're going to turn it counterclockwise. So we're pretty much all on the line. So if we go 4, 4, 4, and then 2 to get us to the middle. Alright, so that's how the adjustment we make to the right. Now we're going to come up. And if you'll notice where it's at, it's pretty much all the same. So we're going to come up, that's the top knob, we're going to turn it counterclockwise, 4, 4, 4, and then 2 to get us to the middle. Alright? Hopefully you guys saw that. Like I said, if you have a problem with that, feel free to holler at me and we'll clarify it for you. Alright. So far, what we've been doing is adjusting from individual shots. I don't want you adjusting from individual shots. I want you adjusting from groups. Initially, I want you adjusting from groups. So what you're going to do is fire a group at your target, and then you're going to adjust from the group. Okay, so I don't want you guys adjusting from individual shots. I'm going to say nobody is that good. But it takes a whole lot of skill and confidence, particularly with that calling your shots, to be able to adjust from individual shots. If you're not 100% confident in that call, and remember the call, what I mean is the sights are dancing around on the target. If the sight is high on the target, all right, when you pull that trigger, if the sight is here, and when you look through the spotting scope, you've got a bullet right there, then that's correct. The sights are fine. There's nothing wrong with the sights, so don't mess with them. You only adjust from good shots. You don't adjust from bad shots. Okay? And when you're referencing this call, use the clock face analogy. So that is high at 12 o'clock. That is to the right at 3 o'clock. That is low at 6 o'clock. That is to the right, or excuse me, to the left at 9 o'clock. Okay, or 10, 11, 12. Wherever it is on the target, that's how you call that shot. Right? But we want to only adjust for good shots. So now we're going to adjust a little bit more. All right, so we are going to fire I want you to initially only adjust from good shots, and I want you to adjust from groups. So we are going to fire typically a 3-round group is kind of standard. So what you're going to do is you're going to fire 3 shots at this target, and then you're going to make your adjustment. So we fire 3 shots, and we have 3 shots very close together. They're all low to the right. But where do we adjust from? Alright? So far I've been teaching you to adjust from the center of the bullet hole to the center of the target. Well, now these aren't all stacked on top of each other. We've got a little spread. So what do? We draw a triangle like that, and we go from the center of the group, and we do just like we did before. So we draw our imaginary XY axis like that, and we figure out the number of clicks. So we know we need to use the side knob to take us to the left. So we're going to turn it clockwise, and we can cipher up the number of clicks there. And the same thing with our elevation. We're going to use our top knob, and we're going to turn it counterclockwise to bring us up. Okay? And how many clicks we need? 4, 4, 4 to get us to the center. If you have questions, please email to me. Alright, so that got us from a decent group. We adjusted from the center of the group to the center of the target. Now, let's say we fired another group. We fire 3 rounds. We call all of them good. We have this, and that's what we see. Okay? What do? You called all 3 of them good. What do? Well, you could draw a XY, or draw a triangle here and find the center of the group. The center of the group is going to be somewhere up here pretty close. What I would do, you got a couple of options. Either one, you can assume that you screwed this shot up, even though you called it good, you were wrong, and adjust for this. Or if you've got the ammo, shoot another round. Put another round, and hopefully your 4th round falls right into that group, and then that tells us that this is truly where the sights are, and we need to adjust for that. It's possible that you were just floating there, and the sights are truly correct, but we're going to assume that that's the case, that you fired 3 and you're good to go. Let's see. Let's fire something else. Fire 3 shots. We call them all good. We look through this one scope and we see that. What do we do? Nothing. You don't do anything because the gun is on. The center of that group is the center of the target. The sights are fine. You're screwing up. Pay attention to your fundamentals of marksmanship. That's what that's telling me right there. When you're adjusting, particularly if it is a major adjustment, don't be afraid to put all the clicks on the gun. Alright? If your first target you're shooting at is this one, and you shoot 3 rounds, and they are here, and you need them to be there, don't say, well, we know it's 22 clicks here, from here to the center, 22 clicks, and so we're about double that out, so that's like 50 clicks, but 50 seems like an awful lot of clicks to be ranking on that side, so I'll just do like 20. Well, you'll be halfway there, and then you'll put another 20, and you'll be, almost there, and you'll have to do another 10 to get there. The sights are very, very fine. Put the clicks on there, man. Don't be afraid to move these sights. Crank on. Alright? So yeah. You might actually even, especially once you get outside the scoring range, it's kind of hard for you to visualize how many clicks you are out. If you think it's 50, put 60 on it, or at least 55. What you want to have happen is, when you fire your next shots, you want them to be up here really close, but just past the bullseye, and now you can fine-tune it with your final shots and get yourself dead on the target. Okay? That's hopefully what we have happen. That's our goal, is to make it work that way. Okay? So what that's called is bracketing. You're going to bracket the target. So if you're really far off initially, you want to slightly overdo your adjustment to pass the target, to bracket your bullseye, and then come back in. Because if you don't do that, what will happen is you'll wind up creeping towards your bullseye, and by the time you get to the bullseye, you're out of ammo. Okay, so we don't want to do that. You want to bracket your target. Now, note, Inconsistency on your part with your position or with the rifle can warrant a sight change. Okay, so when you get onto the position, keep everything as much the same as possible. You wrap into the sling, you put the rifle in the pocket of your shoulder, you put your face on the gun. All this stuff has to be the same every time. If you take your face off and you put it in a different place, that changes your sight setting. So if you put your face all along through here, your sight setting is different. You put the butt of the rifle in a different place in the pocket of your shoulder, it's different. Okay, so you need to be as consistent as possible. And the most consistency you can gain is by staying on the gun. So we put the rifle here, we put our face here, and we don't move it. Okay, we're slung up, and we can reach up here and we can make our adjustments, and we can roll over and look at our spotting scope and keep our face on the gun, back, adjust if we need to, make our shots, check, adjust, check, adjust, like that. And when you're shooting groups, don't check between rounds. Shoot all 3 of your rounds for the group, then check, look at your spotting scope, see what it looks like, then make your adjustment, okay? I know this is a lot of information and a lot of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense until you've actually shot. What I would like you guys to do is to go back and review this after you've shot the first day, because it really, once you've actually had hands-on with the gun, a lot of this stuff makes a whole lot more sense. Okay, so try to remember to do that, go back and check your stuff again. All right, the last part here I'm going to go over with you guys is scoring, all right, scoring the targets. Now, I've shown you something here that's kind of frightening where that bullseye is very intimidating, but I also want to show you this. In any shooting endeavor, if the bullet just touches the scoring line, you get credit for that scoring line. So if your bullet hole just barely nicks that 10 ring, that's still a 10. Okay? So if I just barely touch the 10 ring all the way around, every time I do that, that is a 10. I don't have to center punch that to make a 10. All I have to do is nick it every time. So that makes this a little easier. It's not quite as difficult as it looked initially. And just to make you feel a little bit better, I'll show you what an Olympic target looks like. The Olympic targets are these. If you'll notice the period there is the 10 ring. So you actually have to hit the dead center every time for an Olympic style target. So we're going to use these targets. So, yay, bonus, a lot easier for you. So, all right, when we're scoring, all right, when we're initially shooting these targets for score, what's going to happen is you are going to get a loading block that has 15 rounds in it and a target that has 11 bullseyes. This loading block helps you track your shots on the target. What you do is you notice you got a bullet that corresponds to each hole on this board. Okay, the bullets, the targets, the holes on the board, they all coordinate here. 5 in the middle, 5 in the middle. The five bullets in the middle are your cider shots to put in your 0 bullseye, which is in the middle. So we're going to use these 5 shots to set our sights. That's called 0. We're going to 0 with these shots. So we have, I told you we're adjusting with groups. So you've got 5 bullets to use the best you can. All right, if you feel super, super confident in your calls and you want to adjust one at a time, fine, do it. I don't recommend that. I recommend you at least fire 2 rounds. 3 rounds is better. Of course, we only got 5. How are we going to do that? So fire your 3 shots. Make an adjustment. Fire 2 shots. Make an adjustment and then start shooting for score. Or you can shoot 2 shots, make an adjustment, 2 shots, make an adjustment, fire 1 more shot as a confirmation, make an adjustment if you need to, and then start shooting for score. Completely up to you how you use these 5 shots, but get the best value that you can. Some of you may want to shoot a big 5-round group, make 1 major adjustment, and hope for the best. Go for it. However you use them, completely up to you. It's your target. You've got 15 rounds, a target and a rifle, and your job is to do the best score possible. Okay? So you adjust your sights, and then you start shooting for score. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that all the way around. Now, your target is worth 100 points. Each of these bullseyes individually is worth 10 points. This one in the middle isn't worth anything. You shoot this one first to adjust your sights. All the ones around you shoot your score. So what we're going to do, you are going to pull the trigger on your, you're going to take this bullet, you're going to load it into your gun, you're going to shoot with this target. And the reason you're doing this thing acts like a manual computer, okay? An analog computer. It keeps track of your shots so you don't have to think. When I'm behind the gun, oh crap, which bullseye am I shooting at? You just look at your loading block and you're like, well, that's the next one up, so that's the one that's going to be here, okay? It makes it a lot easier for you. You don't have to do quite so much thinking. And any help you can get on that when you're out there, you'll find shortly that's a big help. So what we're going to do is we're going to shoot these targets, and I'm going to show you how to score it, and we'll be done here shortly thereafter. So, okay, so we've got quite a bit of stuff going on here, and we'll look at it and see what we've got. All right, so first we're just going to score it. If we touch the line, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the middle of the bullseye and work our way to the bullet hole. If we did not cross the line, then we didn't lose a point. All right, so in other words, here we hit the 10 range, so we didn't lose any points. That's -0. Here again, -0. Here again, -0. Here, though, when we're heading toward the bullet hole from the center of the target, we did cross the line. We did not hit this one, so we lost 1 point. We did hit this one, so we only lost 1 point. 1 point, 2 points. We hit that one, so we only lost 2. 1, 2, 3 on this one. See that down here? 1, 2, 3. We did hit. We hit that one, so we only lost 3 points. We lost 1, 2 here. -2. 1, 2 there. -2. It goes in here. -0. And that one, of course, is a dead center here, so it goes in there. -0. So if we do it this way, it's easier to figure out the total of your points. And it's easier to go kind of -1, 2, -3, -2, -2. It's easier to figure that out and subtract that from 100 than it is to say, okay, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and 9, 8, 7, 8, and 8, and add that up. Comes up to the same thing, but it's easier if you just subtract it as you go. Okay, because you can go 99, 8, and 7, 6, and 5, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1, 90. You got 90. Right? So it's easier to do that as you go than it is if you add it up. Alright. So, but what else do we see here? Okay, we started out good, pretty good. Started shifting to the right there, and then we shifted low right down here. If you see 2 consecutive shots off, you need to start doing some adjustment. And by the time you get to 3 consecutive shots off, you need to be adjusting. All right, if you're not doing that, if you're not adjusting your sights, then you're wasting points. Okay, and you can tell whoever shot this one, they did make an adjustment, and they come up, they went just a little bit too far, and they went high left, and they made their adjustment, and they got back on. All right, now why did it go off? It's hard to tell. All right, they started out good, but then about right here, they made some shift in their position. Okay, they moved their face on the gun, they moved the stock in their shoulder, they moved their sling, they had cramp, they sneezed, they fixed their glasses, who knows what it was they done, but they had a point of inconsistency, and that shift moved their sights, removed their adjustment. Okay, so then they fixed it, and they were back on. All right, but that's what you need to do is pay attention to your target and fix it as you see problems developing. All right, went over a lot of stuff in here today. All right, we went over your calling your shots, we went over adjusting your sights, the mechanics of your sights, we went over